But this is the Friday Sports Riot. Call the show, 630-403-5200. That is 630-403-5200. And on the phone line, he is a freelancer, and you can also hear him during the week on SportsTownChicago.com. He is on right now. Gabe Salgado is on. What's up, Gabe?
Hey, guys. How's it going? Happy Friday.
Hell yeah. Happy Friday. So how has everything been since we last had you on the show?
Well, busy as always. You know, show business is a never-ending business. I'll tell you that much.
Yes, it is one business that gets very little sleep. So let's get right into it. What is your take, before we get to everything with Carmelo Anthony, what is your take as the Spurs somehow and magically beat the Heat in 5 games? What happened?
I'll tell you, they definitely corrected their mistakes from last year's NBA Finals. You know, they finally figured out a way, you know, to play defense on LeBron James. They found a way to slow down Chris Bosh, and of course, you know, one thing that helped, you know, Dwayne Wade wasn't really 100% this season, so that kind of helped them out as well. And San Antonio's bench outplayed Miami's bench. You know, it was just pretty much a dominating performance from top to bottom.
I agree with that. And also, where do you think Tim Duncan ranks all time between power forwards? Is he the greatest power forward of all time? Do you think that there's other people ahead of him in that power forward center spot?
I think there's people ahead of him, but I think you'd have to put him in the top 10. I mean, you know, 5 championships. You know, how many power forwards can say they even won 1 championship? He has 5.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, and he's definitely done a good job of manning the paint since David Robinson retired. So he's kind of like taken over that role since then. And, you know, Tim Duncan, even though he's, you know, getting up there in age, he still finds ways to be effective. He's not, you know, you don't see him alley-ooping out of the gym like he did when he first got in the league, but, you know, he's still, you know, a valuable player inside that post. And, you know, I don't know how much longer he'll want to play or how much he has left in the tank, but obviously he's still effective.
What is it about Tim Duncan that makes him such an all-time great? Because when you ask me about him, I just describe it as beautiful basketball. The way it's not flashy, it's not like highlight reel material, but he just gets the job done, and that's why he has 5 rings. What is your take?
With him, it's all about fundamentals and technique. It doesn't get any simpler than that. You know, like you said, he's not flashy. He's not as fast and athletic as he used to be, and he realizes that. So he found a way to adjust his game to where he could still be effective. And, you know, he proved that you don't necessarily have to be, you know, 20 points and 15 rebounds a night to help your team win.
So now that the Spurs have won the championship, it's their 5th championship in franchise history, of course. Where do you think Tim Duncan ends up? Do you think he plays another year? Do you think he retires? And how about Greg Popovich, the great coach for the San Antonio Spurs? Do you think this is his final year as the Spurs coach?
I would hope not. I mean, just, you know, all the success that he's led to this team since he took over. Remember, he was the general manager before he was the head coach. And
that's right.
Well, and once he's gotten those sidelines, he completely turned the team around. They won 5 championships. They're one of the top defensive teams in the league. Every year, you know, they boast all-stars, you know, always 2 to 3 all-stars a year. And I think that, you know, if he still has it in him, I don't know, you know, health-wise or whatever else may be going through his mind, but if he still has it in him, I think he should stay as long as he can. As for Tim Duncan, that's a bit of a difficult question to answer. I mean, obviously he's still in shape and he's still effective, but, you know, we don't know, you know, how his back is holding up, how his knees are holding up, and usually those are the first things to go when you're a basketball player. So it would all depend on, you know, how he's feeling once July and August come around. I wouldn't be surprised if he retires because I think he's proven all he's needed to prove. And at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if he came back because he still has something to contribute to the team.
Now, Gabe, last night I was watching Jimmy Kimmel Live, and they had Tony Parker on there, and it was a pretty good interview, but he has a great personality, and he's very funny. He's very likable. Here's my thing for you. Why is he so underrated? Why don't people appreciate him? I feel like this is the guy who should get more publicity and be a bigger household name because he comes off very likable and a guy you would want to root for. Why does he go underrated throughout his whole career?
Because he plays on a team full of all-stars and all defensive players, basically. You know, he's not a one-man show. He shares the spotlight with his teammates, and that's why, you know, he doesn't get, you know, that elevated spotlight like, you know, maybe he should get. But, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's good for the team as a whole that they don't have just one guy that stands out above the rest, that everybody gets credit for equal participation.
Now let's move on to the Bulls and talk about the latest with Carmelo Anthony. What would happen, or what would have to happen for him to join the Chicago Bulls?
Well, the first thing that had to happen was he'd have to opt out of his contract with the Knicks. The second thing, it would definitely take one heck of a recruiting job by both Joakim Noah and Derrick Rose. They have to convince him that he is needed here. They have to convince him that he's the final piece of the puzzle that'll help him get back to the finals. And it's all about, what type of money can the Bulls offer him. Obviously, they're not going to offer him the type of money that the Knicks can. But, the Bulls would definitely have to give him something that's worth his while for him to come here.
Here's my thing. Why wouldn't he want to come to Chicago? He's been nothing in New York City. And, hey, they didn't make the playoffs this year, but we did. So what would be so hard to recruit him? I think that would be pretty easy to recruit him, saying, hey, we make the playoffs more than you and we make more runs. So wouldn't you agree that's more than enough to bring him here?
I'd like to think so, but now you take a look at the Miami Heat getting involved in things. They already have the big three, and now they're trying to get a big four because obviously the big three wasn't enough this year. And you take a look at, their bench didn't pitch in as well as you'd like them to in the postseason. Shane Battier's been talking about retiring, and take a look at the Lakers are also trying to pitch to them as well. Kobe Bryant and Paul Gasol, they definitely want. Steve Nash as well. They definitely want to add a fourth player that can help them get over the hump as well. So, so you take a look at these other teams that think that they have something to offer Carmelo Anthony, and that's what's going to make it tough.
Wherever Carmelo Anthony ends up, he's going to bring a lot of scoring. But if he does go to another team, is there anything else that he can bring to the table except scoring?
I mean, really, there isn't. He's not obviously that much of a defensive player, but he's a heck of a scorer. And that's really what all these teams that are interested in him are looking for, just a guy who can put up some more points on the board and help get their point total up. And I will say this, one thing's for sure, I do not see Carmelo Anthony going back to New York next season, but it's tough to decipher where he'll end up because of so many teams that are in the mix.
Let's say he were to leave the Big Apple. Now, does this hurt his legacy? I mean, he's known as a guy who likes to score, but when it comes to the playoffs and the lights being on him, that's when he shrinks. So if he were to go to 3 teams in 11 years, to me, that hurts his legacy a little bit because he can't get it done on one team. What do you think?
Well, I mean, obviously that can hurt any player's legacy, but what? At the end of the day, it's about which team can convince him that he's the final piece to winning the championship. And I think that the old saying goes, winning cures everything that ails you. So I think that if he can go to another team and win a championship, I think that'll cement his legacy. Granted, it would only be 1 title compared to the 2 for LeBron James, but I think then the 3 for Dwayne Wade. But I think that what it all boils down to is he wants to win a championship.
Do you think that a coach like Tom Thibodeau would be able to coach Carmelo Anthony to play really good defense and really help the Bulls team, because the Bulls are a more defensive oriented team, obviously. Do you think that them landing Carmelo could really help Carmelo as far as his defense goes?
I would hope so. I mean, Tom Thibodeau, you just take a look at how he's taken some guys who, either weren't very good on defense or didn't like to play defense at all, and, made them into a defensively sound team. Excuse me. But I definitely think that Tom Thibodeau could help him. I don't know if it'll make him a complete defensive player that you would want him to be, but it would definitely be a step in the right direction. I'm not sure if any other coach would be able to provide that for him.
Now, Gabe, before we let you go, what is your take on everything going on in the World Cup? Because me and Ryan don't watch soccer, so we have no idea what the hell's going on. So how has this been going so far?
Well, I tell you, Spain, the defending champions, they have already been eliminated. And, it was very disappointing. They didn't score well. They couldn't play defense. Opposing defenses shut them down. The United States, they had that very exciting opening victory against Ghana. Mm-hmm. Now they got a tougher test in Portugal on Sunday. And without Josie Altidore on the lineup, that's going to be pretty tough to handle, especially since they're going up against Cristiano Ronaldo. But other teams to look out for. Uruguay. It looked like they were on the verge of elimination, and Luis Suarez comes off of his knee surgery and scores 2 goals and keeps their hopes alive. So there's just really been a lot of action going on, and if you look at my Twitter feed, you can see the stories that I've posted on it over the last few days. Cool. Kind of keep you up to date with what's been going on. But this is probably one of the most exciting World Cups that I've seen in a long time, and this is definitely a World Cup where there's been a lot of scoring, more scoring than usual. So It's definitely been worth your while. You guys are missing out, I'll tell you that much.
And so we know you got a lot going on. So where can people find your work online?
Follow me on Twitter at GabeSalgado82. That'll also link you to my Facebook page as well. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. Just search Gabe Salgado, and you can find me there, and everything that I post will be there as well.
Well, Gabe, have a good weekend, my man, and here's to hoping that the Bulls somehow, in some way, get the good old scorer named Carmelo Anthony. Wouldn't you agree?
I say we should probably start saying our prayers now for that to happen.
Thanks, Gabe.
Thanks.
All right, guys, thanks.
That was Gabe Salgado. You can hear him every Thursday with Ryan Fahey and Paul Shavari on the Shavari and Fahey Show. And you can hear him on the Sport Renegades every night on Thursdays as well, and on the Friday Sports Riot. Ryan, what is coming up on the show?
Coming up on the show, we're going to talk to you a little more specifically about Clayton Kershaw's no-hitter and what he did. Also coming up in a little bit, we'll have Risky Rants with our friend Ryan Risky, who also has a show on here, the Sport Renegades, which is on Thursday nights from 8 to 10, correct?
That same show that Gabe Salgado calls into, so check him out.
And, we'll also take your calls at 630-403-5200, 630-403-5200.
The Friday Sports Riot on SportsTownChicago.com.